You wouldn't survive a single day inside a Victorian asylum. Not because you are weak or even ill, but because the building itself was designed to unmake you. The world outside can wait. Here, we wander through forgotten corridors of time. We open another door to the past. If you could walk through it, knowing you can't change anything, only watch, what moment would you choose? Let us know in the comments below. Because the one we're stepping into tonight is a place you would never want to wake up in. Winter of 1885. A bell you never heard before rips you from a thin sleep. Your breath ghosts in the air. Footsteps gather in the corridor, leather soles and keys clinking like little metal warnings. A man in a white smock appears in your doorway and studies you as if you were a label in a cabinet. He says nothing. You are ordered to rise, to follow, to keep your eyes down. From this moment, your body, your time, and even your name are no longer yours. You will learn the rules quickly, or the rules will teach you. Victorian asylums promised care, order, and moral cure. Pamphlets showed gardens and sunlit halls. The reality smelled of damp plaster, lye, and boiled linen. Madness was a vague map. Melancholia, hysteria, moral insanity. People were committed for grief that lasted too long, for nervous exhaustion, for defiance, for inconvenient inheritances. A husband, a father, a magistrate could sign a paper and close a door that only opened from one side. Once admitted, discharge depended on doctors who measured improvement by silence and obedience. Speak too loudly, resist a command, weep at the wrong hour, and your stay lengthened like winter. Some were mad. Many were simply poor, different, or in someone's way. The asylum treated them all the same. Reduce, restrain, routine. Morning parade. Bearboards chill your feet through thin stockings. Patients shuffle in pairs past windows barred against the pale light. You count them without meaning to, the blank faces, the whispered prayers, the man rocking with his cheek against the wall. A nurse barks numbers and ticks names on a slate. Breakfast is ladled from a dented tin. Gray gruel, a heel of bread, weak tea with a rind of sourness. Talking is forbidden except by permission. You feel every eye that does not look at you. Across the table, a woman in a torn shawl studies her spoon as if it were a mirror, searching for proof she still exists. A guard watches the room like a hawk, not for danger, only for disobedience. Inspection. The surgeon's assistant moves down the line, taking pulses as if timing a metronome. He notes your tremor and writes a word you cannot read. Another nurse checks your bedding, your comb, your shoestrings. Anything that could become a noose is confiscated without a word. The ward smells of carbolic and old soap. On the wall, a chart lists virtues, cleanliness, quiet, industry. Underneath, someone has scratched a single sentence with a pin. I was happy. You wonder how long it took them to earn that much time with the pin. The bell rings again, not loud, merely final. Doors open in sequence. The orderly with the heavy keys smiles without warmth. You go where the keys tell you to go. Hydrotherapy. They claim water soothes the agitated mind. The bath is deep and cold, the tap coughing steam that dies before it reaches you. You are lowered in and wrapped with a canvas sheet that buttons at the shoulders so you cannot climb out. Minutes stretch. The room ticks. A nurse records your pulse while another murmurs that compliant patients improve faster. Your skin prickles, your teeth chatter, your thoughts slow into a watery hum. Across the room, a man in another bath stares at the ceiling and counts cracks, lips moving with a patient's prayer. When they finally lift you, your legs refuse to belong to you. The towel is thin, the air colder than before. Calm, they call it. Emptiness, your bones reply. Restraint is treatment here. The jacket is heavy canvas, stained a dozen anonymous colors. Your arms fold across your chest, the sleeves drawn tight until your shoulders burn with a flat, patient fire. Buckles bite. They say it prevents injury. It mostly prevents dignity. Time thins when you cannot scratch, adjust, or hide your shivering. In the corner, a chair with straps waits for the next lesson. The orderly mentions regulations. The doctor mentions science. The matron mentions God. None mention mercy. When they loosen the jacket, blood returns in hot needles that make you gasp. You apologize without knowing for what. The nurse nods, satisfied. Repentance looks like progress in her ledger. The pen moves. The straps remain within reach. The rotational chair sits on a polished spindle, a contrivance from another century that refuses to die. A patient is strapped in, ankles, wrists, waist, and spun by a brisk hand until the room blurs into a chalk circle. They say the inner ear will reset the brain. The man sags, retches, pleads, then falls into a silence that the doctor calls therapeutic. You are made to watch because instruction must be seen. A bucket waits like a punctuation mark. When the chair stops, the man's eyes cannot find the world again. He is led away, light as a scarecrow. In the notes, it will read, "Procedure tolerated." There is a comfort in paperwork that never reaches the patient's skin. Electric remedies arrive in a wooden case. No one measures much beyond endurance. 2 damp pads, a hand at your jaw to keep you from breaking teeth you cannot afford to lose. Light floods the skull, then nothing, then a room that is shifted half an inch to the left. You taste copper and winter. Your tongue is bitten. A nurse tucks it back with a spoon. The doctor remarks that the seizure means the current found its mark. You are returned to bed and told to rest, as if sleep were a coin you could spend. When you close your eyes, you hear water, buckles, a chair turning like the moon. The ledger gains another line. Your name shrinks beside it. Staff are not all cruel, but cruelty does not need everyone's help. Only no one's objection. The matron runs the ward like a ship. Her apron could cut glass. The orderly with the keys has learned to move silently, yet his pockets still sing when he walks. A junior nurse hides crusts of bread for a girl who will not speak. Later she is scolded for sentiment. At night, rumors gather of basements, of punishment rooms, of patients who are transferred without records to places no one visits. The staff call these stories nonsense. The staff also lock the doors. In the half hour before lights out, hope grows louder than sense. That is when punishments are handed out for whispering. Night in the asylum is a second institution. Gaslight falters. Long corridors turn to tunnels. The building settles with wooden sighs that resemble words you do not want to learn. Somewhere, a man sobs in a rhythm too regular to be grief. A woman hums an old hymn without the words, only the tune, as if the lyrics have been confiscated like pins and belts. Footsteps pause outside your door and do not move. You count to 50, then to 100, then to a number that has no name. The key does not turn. This, you will learn, is mercy. Sleep comes like a thief who takes only small things. The names of months, the color of your mother's dress, the weight of your own voice. Small hours are the asylum's truest self. Doors that were locked are now double locked. The watchman walks with a lantern hooded to a slit, light sliding like a knife across stone. Somewhere deep in the building, a bell rings once, not for time, but for trouble. The sound fades. The dark swells back in. You are told that patients who wander at night are found in places they could not have reached. The corridors twist when no one is looking. The architecture is an accomplice. A matron claims these are delusions. Yet her keys never jingle after midnight. You try to sleep, but the mattress whispers with the movements of its last occupant. You do not know his name, but you have begun to dream his dreams. Morning arrives without sunrise. The sky is a slab of pewter. Your body aches as though the bed had been made of memory and regret. Breakfast is different. A bowl of barley water, barely warm. The man beside you tries to trade his portion for a button. A nurse confiscates the button and the bowl, leaving him nothing but an entry in the punishment ledger. Today's work assignment is laundry, steaming vats in a stone room with no windows. The smell of lye burns your eyes. The heat is a wall you cannot pass through. You learn quickly that slow workers are doused with the same water used to scald the linens. It is not the heat that frightens you. It is the cold after, when they leave you wet. Tasks change without warning. You are sent to the sewing room, a hall lined with long tables and bent backs. Patients stitch uniforms for staff, sheets for beds, shrouds for those who never leave. The woman across from you hums tunelessly as she works. Her needle flashes like a small weapon. A guard passes and she stops mid-hum, eyes dropping to her work. Conversation here is coded in glances and the speed of stitches. One patient coughs, red blooming on her handkerchief. She is led away by two nurses. Her seat remains empty for the rest of the day. In the margin of your mind, a thought scribbles itself. You are not here to be cured. You are here to be useful until you are not. Some parts of the asylum are not on any tour. The attic, for instance. You are told to fetch a crate and follow an orderly through a door you have never seen open. The stairwell is narrow, the air dry with dust that tastes of paper and rust. The attic is crowded with beds, stacked like coffins, and boxes marked with patient numbers, no names. Inside, spectacles, shoes, letters never sent. One box contains only hair, braided and tied with ribbon. You want to ask why, but the orderly is already locking the door on the way out. Later, you overhear a nurse say the attic is where the asylum keeps its ghosts. She does not laugh when she says it. Back in the ward, a doctor makes rounds with two students. They pause at your bed, speaking as though you are deaf. Words like degeneration and chronic float above you, cold as coins dropped in water. One student takes notes, the other watches your face too closely. The doctor orders a new treatment, isolation. You are moved to a narrow cell with a single chair and a slit for light. Meals are passed through a hatch. Time here is not measured by bells, but by the cooling of the air and the stiffening of your limbs. Somewhere outside, a patient screams your name, or something close to it. You are not sure which would be worse, that it is meant for you, or that it is not. Isolation blurs into interrogation. A different doctor arrives, one who asks questions so quickly you cannot answer before the next one comes. He records your hesitation as symptom. He asks about your family, your habits, your dreams. He asks about things you have never told anyone. The questions turn to accusations. You begin to wonder if answers matter at all. He leaves without a word, and you are returned to the ward. Later, you see him again, speaking with a visitor in a fine coat who slips him an envelope. The next morning, two patients are gone, their beds stripped. No one mentions their names. The ledger does not show subtractions, only additions. Night again. A storm presses against the roof. Rain lashes the windows like thrown gravel. The power flickers. The gas lamps hiss. Staff move quickly, whispering. You hear a story in pieces. A patient has escaped. The word escaped is said differently here. It means the body is missing, not the mind. Doors are bolted, searches ordered, but the storm is louder than the pursuit. Hours later, the matron announces the patient has been found. No one asks where. At lights out, you notice the empty bed in the corner has been remade, as if it had always been empty. Sleep does not come. You keep listening for the sound of footsteps on the roof. Days and nights lose their edges. You count time by the rotation of staff, by the length of shadows in the corridor. Work, meal, inspection, treatment, rest, repeat until you forget which came first. One afternoon, you pass the chapel, its door ajar. Inside, pews are empty except for one patient kneeling before the altar. His lips move without sound. On the altar lies not a Bible, but a small black book bound in string. The matron arrives, shuts the door, and locks it. Later, you hear the chapel is only used for funerals, and the patient you saw is no longer on the roll. You try to recall his face, and cannot. In the infirmary, the smell is different, sweet and cloying, layered over the sharpness of carbolic. Beds are occupied by those too weak for work. Some stare at the ceiling, following cracks like maps to places they will never go. A nurse hums as she mixes powders into water, marking each cup with a chalk X. She hands one to you by mistake, then takes it back with a thin smile. In the corner, a cupboard rattles, though no one touches it. A doctor tells you it's the wind, though the cupboard is nailed shut. Later, you see the same doctor remove something small and dark from the cupboard and slip it into his pocket. The asylum has an odor you will never forget. Damp stone, boiled cabbage, old soap, and something faintly metallic that clings to your skin. Visitors notice it when you are released, if you are released. They lean back politely and change the subject. Some former patients speak of the silence more than the smell, the way voices fall flat, the way footsteps vanish after turning a corner. You begin to understand why. Sound here is not only heard, it is kept. At night, you press your ear to the wall and hear words in a language you do not know, spoken in your own voice. You stop listening, but the wall keeps speaking. A fire drill is announced without warning. Staff herd patients into the yard, the cold biting hard after the indoor heat. You stand in rows, shivering, while a head count is taken. The yard smells of coal smoke from the kitchen chimney. At the far wall, you notice an iron gate chained shut. Behind it, a second yard lies abandoned, weeds high against the bricks. A nurse catches you staring and steers you away with a grip that bruises. Later, you overhear two orderlies say that the other yard hasn't been used since the collapse. They don't say what collapsed, or who was there. The next day, the gate is gone, replaced by a blank wall. Winter deepens. Frost creeps along the inside of the windows. The gruel is thinner, the bread harder. Illness spreads. Coughs punctuate the silence like clock chimes. One morning, you wake to find the bed across from yours empty. The mattress is gone, the frame bare. At roll call, the number stays the same. You are given new work, clearing snow from the walkways. The cold is sharp enough to make your teeth ache. In the snow near the fence, you find a set of footprints leading away, too large for a patient's shoes. Before you can follow them, a guard calls you back. That night, the snow falls harder, and the prints vanish. Spring comes late to the asylum. The garden, once promised as a place for recovery, is a strip of earth hemmed by brick. Patients dig under watch, planting flowers they will never see bloom. One man plants stones instead of bulbs. No one corrects him. In the corner, a statue of a saint leans forward as if listening. Its base is hollow. You see paper tucked inside. Before you can reach it, the bell rings. That night, you dream of the statue walking the corridors, head bent, collecting the words no one dares speak aloud. In the morning, the paper is gone from its base. Some leave the asylum, though not all by the front gate. Discharges are rare, transfers more common. One evening, you see a patient in a good coat being led away by two men you have never seen before. He does not look back. The next day, his bed is filled by a stranger who will not speak and flinches at every touch. You ask a nurse where the first man went. She says, "Home," with a smile that does not touch her eyes. That night, you hear a carriage arrive long after visiting hours. Wheels on gravel, then silence. In the morning, the bed is empty again. If you survive a day in a Victorian asylum, it is not because it was kind to you. It is because you learned how to disappear in plain sight, to speak when spoken to work without pause, to think without showing it. You carry the smell, the silence, the shadows. Outside, people will tell you it's over, that you are free. They will not see you flinch when a key turns in a lock, or wake at the sound of rain on a roof. Victorian asylums did not need to keep you forever. They only needed one day to make sure a part of you never leaves. If you enjoyed this quiet journey through the past, you're welcome to join me again. Whenever the world feels too loud, history never sleeps, and neither do its secrets. I'll see you in the next story.